This is my trusty ICECO JP50, and we're saying goodbye to it in favor of the ICECO JP50 Pro. So I'm really excited about this particular review because this is one of those reviews where I've actually already started using the product before I'm reviewing it. You know, most times I get stuff in the mail and I'm supposed to make a review video and I go and do that, and then I tell you guys, well, can't wait to try it out. Let's see how it works. And then I give you guys an update on how it is when we're out on the field. Well, I've already used this. Came in, I decided to use it on our last trip to the Alabama Rubicon. And I have loved this fridge so much. The ICECO JP50, the one that I showed you in the beginning, that is my first fridge ever. My wife and I bought that with our own money. And since we bought that fridge 3.5 years ago, I've been hit up by other companies wanting me to review their fridges. And if you followed this channel long enough, then you'll know that I've done reviews on a ton of other fridges. And all those other fridges worked fine until it didn't. I started having a ton of issues, like it wouldn't cool down as fast as I'd like it to, or it didn't cool down at all. And after all those fridges, I kept going back to the ICECO JP50. I kept running that one because I knew that it was reliable, that it was trustworthy, and I knew that it would be there for us to cool our food. Now, ICECO has a ton of different fridges, but I always go with the JP50 and the JP50 Pro because of the width. The width of this fits exactly in that platform that I made, that 30% delete that I did on the Jeep, because it allows me to put the fridge in the back seat versus in the trunk area, which is perfect because when my son's sitting in the back seat and he wants a snack, he doesn't have to reach all the way back there. It's kind of like next to him, and we can reach things when we're driving if my wife needs to get something out of the fridge to munch on or whatever. So I knew that if I was gonna get a new fridge for the Jeep, it had to fit those same kind of parameters, and the JP50 just has the perfect size that fits in that platform. Now, I think the biggest draw for us when it came to the JP50 Pro was the way the lid could open from either side, or you can remove it completely. Especially for us and where we have our fridge situated in the back seat, it'll open up wide enough, but then it becomes kind of difficult to get things from the narrower side. If you have a fridge that opens long ways like that, then you'll have undoubtedly experienced that sometimes if you don't open it all the way through, then it gets a little difficult to reach things from back there, or it makes it almost difficult to basically take out the basket that's inside. Especially when we're loading up before our trip, we'll just take the lid completely off, because then that allows us to remove the basket way easier. We can then load this up at home and then just drop everything back in, and then good to go. Of course, doing so, you're letting out a lot of the coldness that's in there. Good thing about the ICECO, this thing cools down so fast and gets to temperature so quickly. I loaded this into the vehicle, I believe it was like 6 a.m. when we were loading up for our trip, and by 6:30, before we even left, it was already down to 35 degrees, and that was starting at 60 degrees. Now, one thing I will say about the lid though is it took me a while to get used to how it opens now. The JP50, you grab it and you kind of curl your fingers and you open it that way. Whereas this, instead of it being like this and you're flicking it open, you're going from inwards and kind of flipping it up. You know, your leverage kind of goes like this. Whereas this time now I'm going the opposite way. That could just be me. Maybe if somehow the latch is opened this way on both sides, that would be great. Now, working our way inside, there are basically two levels of this fridge. You have like a higher level and then you have a lower level. The lower level is basically for your basket and all the big items you would be putting in there. But the upper level is great for storing soda cans, quick grab items, those type of things. And when you open this thing, you'll see that it has two lights, but they're both not really lights. One of them is a light. When you open the lid, it glows white. The other one though, that's not a light. That's actually an awesome feature that I've never had in my other fridges before, and that's UV. And that UV will just help kill bacteria, germs, things like that that are in here. Now, just overall looks, I love the way the JP50 Pro looks. Like, of all the fridges I've looked at, this just looks so good. They've really upped the design of the JP50. Black on the bottom, black at the top, and then you have the stainless steel all around, and even the handles. The handles are pretty rugged. It doesn't snap either. Like the other one, when you open this, it kind of snaps back. That's helpful to me when I'm strapping things down, because the other one, every time I try to put a strap, and I'm fishing behind it and it's just snapping back at me and I have to kind of pull it and get it in there. This time I just kind of lift it up, pull it down, and I can tighten up my straps that way. You'll notice this thing has wheels, and for a while that was kind of a turnoff for me. I didn't want a fridge with wheels because I wanted to be able to just put it down and I know it's not gonna roll in my vehicle. But if I'm being honest, I actually ended up falling in love with the wheels. What I didn't want, like I had with other fridges, wheels that are pretty big, that it makes the fridge kind of look like this. Well, this is so low to the ground that it really doesn't move. It's almost like it is sitting flat until you actually go like this. Then you're able to roll it. And what's even better is the way they did the wheels. You'll notice it doesn't stick out. This has been great. It's useful. I can roll this around, but it doesn't get in the way. And I think that's the most important thing. Now, down here at the bottom, you have your ways of charging this thing up. You have AC and you have DC. If you're going to charge this up at home, go to AC. You can plug this into the vehicle's AC port as well, like with an inverter, but I wouldn't suggest that. Anytime you have an option in your vehicle to go with DC over AC, then I would go straight to 12 volt every time. When you use an inverter, it converts 12 volt into like AC power, and you lose some power there, you lose some efficiency there. Now granted, of course, you might be bringing some things to camp that require AC, a hair dryer, a coffee maker, but if anytime you have an option to go with DC over AC in your vehicle, always go to DC route, because you're gonna get much more efficient power that way. And then right over here you have USB. USB, this is for you to charge up your own devices, I think. USB connector only takes effect when charging in the DC power cord. Does that mean that you have to be plugged into DC and then that USB will work? It is USB-A, which is older tech now, with USB-C like being king of the hill, but that is there if you want to use it. I will probably never use this at all, because this is actually hidden anyway. When this thing is mounted, you can't see any of this stuff in the vehicle, so I'm never gonna be using that. Over on this side, down here at the bottom, this is where you would replace your fuse. There's a fuse panel right there that you can remove if you need to replace the fuse on here. It does take a 15 amp. And then I see this other one that the icon on here is a plug. However, it doesn't say in the instructions what this would be for. I don't know if that's if you want to charge it on this side. I don't think it would do that. Maybe it does. Maybe if you want it to be on this side versus the other side, then there's an option for that. But I'm confused as to why the regular AC port that I have that came with this is a different shape than what this is. If anybody knows what that might be for, let me know. I'll probably have the answer before you guys even comment. And then you have this handle here, so if you want to roll it around, obviously you don't want to be stooping down to roll this thing. There's your handle to roll this around with, and it just kind of tucks away. This one I wish would snap. That way it's out of the way, it's not flopping like this. You have your display panel. Display panel is really simple. You have your LCD screen in the middle, and then you have your basically your power, your settings, and then your plus and minus. Now here's the part that I know a lot of you are going to love or are gonna find extremely useful. I know that many of you, because it's how I ran, plug your fridges into a power bank. You probably have it plugged into the vehicle when you're driving, and then when you get to camp and you're stopped, you probably unplug it from the vehicle and plug it to a power bank, because the last thing you want is for your fridge to kill your starter battery. ICECO now has their own power bank that we'll go over the specs of both of these in just a bit, but I just wanted to show you the option of being able to take a power bank, put it to the side of the fridge, plug it up to that, and you now have basically a self-sustaining unit. Now the cover is better than the other cover on the original JP50, where you had to kind of tie it around and then zip it up. The way they have this now, it's like a two-piece. So let me show you how that looks like. All right, so no cover, half cover, full cover. It looks good. I mean, it's better than the covers I've had before. I just don't know if I want to run a cover again, because then you have to unzip this every time you want to open the lid. On each side you have these pockets. It's the same, it looks the same on the other side as well. You have a pocket just like this. I also like that it's expandable this time. The old case that I have, it was just a flat pocket, and you could try to squeeze things in there, but this one does expand, so you can fit some things. Now, the way I might want to run this though, I might just take off the top completely and maybe just kind of run it like this in the vehicle. That way it protects the bottom of the fridge. You still have access to the wheel, still rolls, and then now at least I have, I don't know, storage for whatever you might want to put in there, utensils. So just some specs on the JP50 Pro. The dimensions of this is 28.5 inches, which is this way, and then 13.8 inches, which is this way, and then 21 inches tall. Now net weight 40.8 pounds, that's without anything inside, obviously. Storage volume 49.7 quarts or 47 liters. Now we'll talk about this a little bit later too, but you can also set battery protection. It will basically shut off so it doesn't kill your battery, and you can set that to either low, medium, or high. You also have sterilizer settings if you want to make sure this thing stays sterilized inside. Also, there's an alarm for this if the lid is not closed properly. If you don't latch this thing down, after about a minute, the fridge will start to beep at you. And finally, power draw. The JP50 pulls about 60 watts. This is a lithium-ion battery. The capacity is 17,400 milliamp hours at 14.4 volts / 250 watt hours. Cycle life, charge and discharge less than or equal to 500 times. Temperature protection, short circuit protection, overcharge and over discharge protection. For the interface, the input is 12 volt to 30 volts at 100 watts max. Now the USB-C port, that's 5 volts, 3 amps, and then the USB-A port, that's 5 volt, 2.4 amps. Weight is about 1.7 kilograms. Alexa, how many pounds is 1.7 kilograms?
1.7 kilograms is about 3 pounds 12 ounces.
3 pounds 12 ounces. But that's pretty much everything you need to know about the fridge and the power bank. We're gonna go ahead and see how fast this thing cools down from the temperature it's at now, which is about, it says 66 degrees Fahrenheit, down to about 35 degrees is where we usually want our fridges. But I think instead of what I normally do is plug it up to the house and see how fast the outlets will cool this thing down, let's use the power bank. Because say you have this loaded in your vehicle and you want to get this thing cooled down and you're running off of just this power bank, let's see how fast this power bank will cool this thing down to temperature. All right, so we have our fridge plugged up to our power bank. So to turn it on, go ahead and hold the power button down. You'll see that right now the inner temperature of this thing is 73 degrees. To change the setting you want it to go down to, just go to plus or minus. I already have it set to 35. Now we're gonna toggle through some of the menu items on here by holding down the settings button right here. hold that down and you'll see that it starts to blink. Right now max is blinking. You can toggle between max and eco. Now normally I like to keep my fridge at eco so it's not drawing too much power, but I want to see how fast this thing will go down to 35 degrees from 73, so we'll go ahead and keep it on max. Press settings again and now you see the M is blinking. If you toggle up, that goes to high. That's medium and that's low. That's basically where you want it to cut off. And then you have Fahrenheit right now, but you can change that to Celsius if you want to. And those are really the only 3 menus that you have. You see this little red thing? That means that the UV light is on. That tells you that the UV light, when this thing is closed, it's basically using UV light to sanitize things. If you want to turn that off, you hold power and the settings button at the same time. If you hold that, see, it turned off, but I want to keep it on because I like that feature a lot. So hold that back down again. There you go. And that's basically the setting. Now we just have to wait to see how fast this thing will cool down. It is currently 11:39. So let's see how fast it will go down to 35 degrees. So I wasn't even finished doing B-rolls and it already got down to temperature, and it actually went down to 28. So I'm sure it'll even out to like 35 in just a bit. And right now it is 11:49. So what, 10 minutes? See, now it went up to 29. So it'll even out. It'll get to the 35 at some point. But just the fact that it went from what, 75 all the way down to 28 in just 10 minutes, that's pretty freaking quick. Now over on the power bank side, we're down to 57% from 66%. So it took about 9% to cool this thing down. Obviously, it's not going to continue to drain because now this thing is turned off. Once it hits temperature, the fridge cuts off and it won't turn back on again until it needs to. So you're not going to see this just rapidly decline on you. So it's probably going to stay 57 for a while until this thing kicks back on again. It might take another % or 2 to bring it back to temperature once more. Without a doubt, the best fridge I've ever owned. And I'm not saying that like to sell you or because they sent this to me. I've had 5 fridges, and out of all of them, this is by far my favorite. It has not dropped temperature at all. It is super reliable. I mean, the compressor that's on this is one of the best compressors that you're going to get. I forget what it's called, ICECO. It is one of the best compressors on the market for refrigerators. It's gonna get to the temperature you want it to be at, and it's gonna be reliable for you. It's not just gonna kind of weird out like some of the other fridges that I've had. If this works, as well as my original JP50 worked, then this is going to be around for a long time, because even to this day, the JP50 is still a champ. So the question now is, should you upgrade or buy the JP50 Pro? I will say it doesn't really matter if you choose the JP50 or the JP50 Pro. I've been happy with the JP50. I'm even happier with the JP50 Pro. It just kept its temperature. To me, at the end of the day, that's all I want my fridge to do, is stay at that temperature, because your food relies on it. If your fridge works and it's reliable, you've already won, right? And everything else is just a bonus. So if you're looking for the bonus, tons of bonuses here. But if you just want a fridge to be a fridge and you don't want anything more and you want to save some money, the JP50 is great. Either of these are going to serve you well for years. And I know that because the JP50 is the one fridge I keep going back to after all the other fridges I've gotten. And now with this one, this is going to be the one and done fridge for me as well. And I'm hoping that this sticks around for the next 3 to 4 years also. And the other JP50 is going in the runner anyway, so it'll continue living a good life. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure you don't smash, cool down that like button. Subscribe to our channel, click that notification bell so we can let you be aware of new videos when they come out. And if it moves you, support us on Patreon. It gives you access to all of our videos before everyone else and gives you access to our live streams when we do them. And as always, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Baptism Overland. My name is Asia Sampson, and I will see you next time.